In this video, we're going to look at creating new routes and creating route plans within My GeoTab. To begin, you first want to make sure you have added your zones or imported your zones that describe your customers or the routes, points of interest where your route will belong to. So I've imported a list, and these are some of the customers I will be creating a route with. So just make sure you've done that first step. You can also import zones as well. So now we're going to go ahead and create a new route. And you'll notice under zones and messages, there's a menu here for routes and doing planned versus actual. So under routes, you can see I can see a list of my various routes. If I would like to see them on the map, I can simply click on this magnifying glass here. I can label it any way I'd like. You may want to label it with a day of the week as a best practice, or you may want to label it with the driver's name or another labeling format you have. So to create a route, you simply click up here to add route. So let's do that. Now when you click on add route, the system is asking you to identify zones that belong on this new route. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to say I have a few customers that I want to add here. By typing in a couple of characters here of what that customer's name is, that one customer that I've set up in the system, it'll identify in this drop down. And let's say this was driver with or a stop that one of my drivers needs to make on a route. I can go ahead and add this to the route. So I'm going to just click on that zone, identify it, point right to the center of the map, click on add zone to route. And you can go ahead, and you don't need to do this in any particular order. You can simply go ahead and just add in all your routes for the day. So I can go ahead and simply add them in, add zone to route. And I may have a couple of zones I want to add in here. So I'm going to add in about 5 or 6 zones to a route, and then we'll take the next step. So let's go ahead and add these zones to a route. So once I've completed adding my completed my route, again, you don't need to have it in any sequence. You can see it'll give me a list of stops in the way format I've added them. I can manually click on this stop and drag it up or down if I wanted to manually have a sequence of stops, or you can click on the optimize button, which will actually optimize the route for the shortest distance. Now I can label this, or I can use whatever the format here is, but let's call this Tuesday route 3. And this route is for my my HVAC deliveries. And I mean, you could do it any way you like. So let's just type that in. I'm going to click save. And we've saved that route. Now if I want to actually take a look at that route on the map, I can go up to there. I can click on this button up here, click on routes. I can even add a route from here, or I can list my routes here. So I'm going to click on list routes, and you can see it's been added to the list right at the bottom here, and I can see my description. And if I want to see it on the map, I can click on this magnifying glass, or if I click here, you can see I have various options up here to show it on the map as well. So I can show it on the map. I can send the route to a vehicle if I have my Garmin integrated with the vehicle as well. So that's another format in which you can communicate with the drivers to send a route to a vehicle. But now we want to take the next step of creating a route plan. Now a route plan is useful in looking at what their planned route schedule was, including stop time, driving time, versus what their actual time is. So at the end of the day or at the next day, you can review and say, does my plan match up with what the driver was doing, or is he spending too long at various stops or sequences? So I'm going to click on here, create plan, and it's going to take a second just to collect the information of driving time between stops. And here you can see, I'm just going to describe this zone organizer. So it's telling me my first stop will be at this address here, this customer here, and it's assuming that the start time will be at 9 o'clock, so the driver will leave from this address. Now if the vehicle is not it's selecting vehicles parked here at route start, but if it's not, you can actually put a distance from your office if you like, or put a stop time at this first customer stop, or you could actually put in your office zone. But so if we're reading the next point here, we can see that the driving time between this stop and this time is about 12 minutes. So I'm going to arrive there at 9:12. Distance is about 12 to 13 miles or kilometers, whatever unit of measure you're working in. The time and also the stop time. Now you can go ahead and modify any of this information here. So let's say your default start time you want to do is 10 minutes. You can go ahead and change up your start times as you need to for each stop here. So you go ahead and just do that, and then you'll see that the times get adjusted automatically for the next. So it'll add the stop time and the driving time to give you the next start time at the next location. Again, you can adjust this by dragging it up or down, and you can click optimize, but it's already optimized for shortest distance, so this should be good. And the last step is, of course, you want to assign this route plan to a specific vehicle. And once you've assigned it to your preferred vehicle here, the next day you can actually compare this route plan. So you can compare this next day and evaluate what was his stop time, was this driver's stop time 10 minutes or was it 15 minutes? What was the route sequence they took? Was this an accurate estimation of driving time between stops? And so on and so forth. Again, you just want to make sure you click save here, and that route plan is saved as well. Now, by default, when you're looking at your routes, to actually look at your actual route plans, you're going to click on here options, and you're going to click on here route plans. So the route plan by default is created for tomorrow going forward, so you want to click on tomorrow, and let's click on, we can either select the driver we want to take a look at the route plan for. So we create a route plan for Mike, or I can click select all for all the vehicles, but I'm going to click Mike for tomorrow. And you can see here's my route plan for Mike, so I can go in and change that route plan if I need to as well. So those are the basics of the system in terms of creating routes and route plans. Again, to run that report of planned versus actual, you're going to click on planned versus actual route report. And here's where you're going to run the report. Right now we don't have any data loaded, so we're not going to see any information, but you can run this report for today, for Mike, or for whoever. And if you have that information and the driver's actually done that route, you'll see it'll be self-explanatory on sort of how the driver's driven, planned versus actual. There's also a route summary and also unmatched route, which we'll discuss in another session.